Everyone, welcome. It's Carrie from Carrie's Wreath Creations. I am here today to give a brief demonstration on how to put together a ribbon wreath. So I am going to be referring to a kit that I was selling in my shop. It has since sold out, but in the future I may have more kits that are like this. And I'll also just make sure I give you the information as far as, how much material you will need if you want to go ahead and work on this. Buy all the materials yourself and put this together. So we're obviously doing a patriotic themed wreath for this. So as far as what you receive in the kit / the supplies you will need to do this project, you will need zip ties. I use 6-inch zip ties. Mine are already loaded into the board here, but I just buy them in packs of 1,000 from Amazon. You are also going to need the small Unique in the Creek board. So I'm just flipping this over so you can see the board. This is the small, it is the authentic Unique in the Creek board. It is not the kind that you buy from the dollar store. For this particular wreath, we're going to be using 2 kinds of wired ribbon. We're going to be using 1.5 inch of the red and white stripe. And you're going to need a total of 400 inches of this. So we're actually going to be making 40 petals, and each petal needs a 10-inch piece of this 1.5 inch stripe. So 400 inches is approximately 11 yards. Okay, you're also, for this project, we're going to be using 2.5 inch wired ribbon as well. You're going to need a total of, I think it's somewhere, I want to say 220 or 240 inches. I can't remember which one it is, but basically you're going to need, it's 220 because you need a total of 20 11-inch pieces, which you're actually going to cut in half. So you need 40 5.5, so 5.5 inch pieces. So you do need, if you're buying 10-yard rolls, you need more than 1 roll of this, and you will use less than 1 roll of this. Now, for demonstration purposes, I am using just a slightly different color variation of this star ribbon. In your kit, you do receive the navy blue. The other thing we're going to do for the center, I'm going to show 2 options. So you're going to get, if you're buying the kit or if you're doing this on your own, we're going to do a burlap center. So there's going to be 2 options for the burlap center. You're going to get a total of 5 feet of this I believe it's 5.5 inch. 5.5 inch burlap. I do purchase this at Walmart. There's some online retailers that sell it as well. So you'll get a total of 5 feet of that, which will be enough to make this rosette, which this is, I have a tutorial in a separate video that shows you how to do this. So I'm not going to show how to make this, but I will include the link in the description box below. So this is one option, or I will show you how you can take your 5 feet of burlap, cut it up, and make a different kind of center. That's actually what we're going to do on this. And you will receive navy blue. This is a little bit more of a royal blue because that's what I'm using for my wreath, but you will receive navy if you bought the kit. So let's talk about how we loaded the board. So if you take a look at your Unique in the Creek board, the rows are labeled. They're labeled on this side. You can kind of see the number 3 there, and holding it by all the zip ties, but the number 4 here. So the rows are labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4, with the first row being the outside, second, third, fourth. So you are going to want to load every pair of holes on row 1, every pair of holes on row 2. If you do get a board that has the extra hole on row 2, you're just going to skip that. You do need to load every row of, every pair of holes in row 3 and every pair of holes as well as the shared holes on row 4. So if you take a look at that, it means that you want to load the pairs. Okay, those are the ones that are closer together. And then the shared holes would be the ones that are the holes that are a little bit farther apart. So you get, basically it's 16, 8, 8, and 8. Okay, so it's a total of 40 petals. Okay, so I did do most of this already. I'm going to finish off row 4 with you. Okay, and then we'll work on the center. So when you get your materials, either you're going to get, for me, you're going to get a flat pack of ribbon that kind of comes like this, or if you bought your own ribbon, then it's going to come on the roll most likely. But what you're going to want to do first, and I already have my pieces pre-cut, so I'm not going to do this all on camera, but for your this is what your petal is going to look like. Okay, so you have your two little stripes coming out the side, and then this is kind of like your little accent piece in the middle here. So you're going to need to cut 10-inch pieces of whatever you're using for the main part of your petal, which in this case, the main part of our petal are these two stripe pieces. So you're going to take your ribbon and you'll cut it into 10-inch pieces using a ruler or your cutting mat, and you just need scissors for that. Okay, so 10-inch pieces, you need a total of 40. Okay, for your little accent pieces, okay, one of two ways you can cut this. You can cut 20 11-inch pieces and then cut them in half, or you can cut a total of 40 5.5-inch pieces. Okay, so you need a total of 40 5.5-inch pieces. It's up to you if you want to cut the longer piece, cut them at 11 and then cut them in half. If you cut the 11-inch pieces, you cut 20. Okay, so that's already been done. So I have a couple petals left to make with you. Okay, so what you're going to want to decide to do, make a decision on first, is if you want to dovetail your ends or you want to ducktail them. So dovetailing is when we create this V shape at the end. I'm going to be doing that. You'll just cut the opposite way if you want to ducktail. I prefer the dovetailing. I just feel like it gives you a little bit more of a finished look. But basically, so this is my 11-inch piece. So this needs to be cut in half. But to dovetail, all you want to do is fold your ribbon in half. Okay. And then from the cut edge towards the part that I brought together where the wire is, you just do a little cut like that. When you open it up, you have your V. Okay, so same thing on the other end. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this in half. I'm just going to fold it in half in order to find the center and just cut it. Now you don't need to dovetail this other end. Okay, you can just leave it. And then now if you're, feeling good about your dovetailing and you have a good strong pair of scissors that's nice and sharp, I'm going to take two pieces at once here on my red and white, fold it in half. Here's my folded side. Here's the wired side, and just cut a little V like that. Okay. And on the other end. Okay. So I have that done. Okay. Now, if you need further instructions on this wreath, I know I have the majority done. Please feel free to watch the other video I have on ribbon wreaths. I'll post a link in the description box, but basically it's the same idea. The only difference with, I believe I think the ones that I did on camera there, it was kind of the opposite, where the main part of the petal was the 2.5-inch piece, and then the 1.5-inch piece was the accent. So this is kind of opposite, but you can actually use really any ribbon combination with this. You can use all 2.5, all 1.5. It should work fine. You just want to, of course, make sure that you're keeping track, because you're going to need more than one roll of whatever you're using for your main part of your petal, and then a little less than one roll of the little accent pieces. Okay, so how do we make these petals? So you're going to take what you're using for your main petal here, which is the striped in this case. Just find the center, so you can just fold it in half to find the center. Okay, and then just gather it at the center. Okay, so and then all you're going to do is take your two ends and bring them up to meet. And if I haven't pinched right at the center, because I want these to be even here, just adjust where you pinched. Okay, and it is wired, so it should stay once you pinch it. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do is just make sure that my ribbon is kind of curving downward, if you will. So I don't want it to flip up, because this side is the ugly side. I don't want any of that to show on my wreath. So I'm just going to make sure that it's kind of, shaped under. And then I'm going to take my little accent piece here. Okay, here's my dovetailed end. I want that to go out with all the other dovetail ends. So I'm just going to take this and place this over this little nub that I have here. Okay, just place it right in the middle. Place that over that, and then you're just going to kind of scrunch it towards where you already have that little nub. You might want to sort of turn the end of your ribbon under a little bit as you sort of gather, so that way it stays sort of curved under, but this is what you have here. Okay, so it just kind of sits over that little nub that you made, and you just sort of gather the extra that's there. Okay, and then this is going to go right into our zip tie. So you just put it in a little, almost like a fingernail width. It doesn't have to go in very much. Okay, you do want to make sure that you get these zip ties nice and tight. Okay, and I'm going to use my zip tie gun to clip them all at the end. But then without pulling too hard. You want to kind of flare that out a little bit so you get good coverage. So make sure that your stripe pieces are not hiding behind the star piece in this example. Okay, so once again, you take your whatever you're using for the main part of your petal, fold that in half just to find the center, scrunch it up, okay? Nothing fancy, just a little scrunch, and then take your two ends and bring them up. Make sure they're nice and even, okay? Give that a little pinch so you have this little nub right there. Take your accent piece, lay that over the top of the little nub, okay? You might want to kind of turn this under a little bit just so your ribbon doesn't flip up once you've grabbed all the material that you need to put into the zip tie. So just like this, okay? And as you can see right now, this is not laying really very nicely at all, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the zip tie, and then I'm going to flare it out and make sure that I have good coverage on my board. Okay, so we just do that in there nice and tight. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just sort of pull these ends out a little bit so that I have good coverage. Okay, so that's all there is to it for the petal. At this point, if you need to see it again, you can go back and rewind. Or if you just need to see a completely different demonstration altogether, go ahead and you can always watch the other video that I'm going to have linked in the description box below. Now the rest of the petals I've already pre-made. I'm just holding them together with a very small little rubber band that you can find in the hair tie section. I'm not even taking the rubber bands off because they will just eventually disintegrate. They're not, you can't even actually see them at all. So there's no real need to take them off. Okay. And with the nice thing about doing the petals in advance is you can kind of already sort of flare out your petal the way you want it before it goes into the board. So I'm not having to do too much of an adjustment here to make sure I have good coverage, and obviously making sure all my ribbon is laying the way that I want to. Okay, so just a couple more here to get in. And I will say, once you get the cutting done, this goes pretty quickly. Making 40 petals might sound like a lot, but honestly, the measuring and cutting and the dovetailing takes kind of more time than anything else. Okay, so we get that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to be using my zip tie gun here. I buy these on Amazon. I do have an Amazon affiliate shop. And you'll find that linked in the description box. Basically what this does is it has a little, whatever you want to call it, kind of like little teeth in there. And what it does is you put your zip tie in and it'll pull it as tight as it needs to go once you pull this trigger once. And then once it's tight enough, it'll cut it. So it does two things in one. And I'm only having to pull the trigger once on most of mine because I've already pulled the zip tie as tight as it could go with my hands. But if you have like a weaker grip, see, that one I did have to pull twice. If you have a little bit of a weaker grip, it's nice that it pulls it really nice and tight for you. And then same device, you don't even have to make any adjustment. All you do is pull the trigger thing again and it'll cut it for you. Okay, so we have all of our ribbon in. Okay, so once again, just to recap, we have a total of 40 petals. Okay, we used a small unique in the creek board. Here's the top. Okay, so all the pairs of holes on rows 1, 2, 3, and then every pair and shared set of holes in row 4. So that's 16, 8, 8, and 8, total of 40. Okay, so I usually forget to do this on camera, excuse me, but you'll have either an extra zip tie or a pipe cleaner, piece of twine, piece of fish line for your top, your hanging holes here on the top. That would be these two. So you have your Unique in the Creek logo, and then there's these two extra holes here. That's where you're going to put your hanger and so that you can hang your wreath up. Okay, so now for the center. If you are going to be making a rosette, you're going to want to switch to the other video, okay, because I won't be doing this on camera, but basically that's how this would finish off if I put this on here, okay? And to attach it, all you're going to do is you got your holes here on row 4, you just find an opposite set of holes, put it in there, and then you'll just twist it in the back and you'll have your center. Okay, so it just went through an opposite set of holes here. Okay, so I'll just twist this, make it nice and tight. I'm not going to do that because we're going to do the other method. So this method here with the rosette is a little bit more advanced. It does make a big mess. Okay, full disclosure. I am providing 5 feet of the burlap, which is, I think I actually made this one out of 4 feet. And I'm pretty sure in the instructional video, I show you how to do it with 4 feet. But the last foot, you can use it, you cannot use it. It just makes your center a little bit more full. What I found was when you work on this, you end up with a very tightly wound rosette to start with. And it really depends how much you fluff it out, of like how much coverage you get. So I am providing that extra 5th foot of burlap if you are, if you need it. You don't actually need it for the rosette, but you are going to need the 5th foot if you want to do this other method. So how are we going to do this? This would be a little bit of an easier method to do, and it makes a little less of a mess because making that rosette, you got to pull all those threads out, and there's definitely a lot of dust, and you want to be very careful if you're, you know, breathing that in. So you're just going to need 4 additional zip ties, which I do provide extra zip ties in the kit, so you'll have enough. Now, usually when we preload the board, we put the zip tie in and we close it just a little bit. That's so it's prepped and ready to go for if we're putting our mesh, or in this case our ribbon in, it's all ready to go. We don't have to fumble around trying to lock it. This you want to leave open. So it's kind of up to you. I'm going to go ahead and just use the pairs of holes again. So essentially you're going to have 2 zip ties in each pair of holes. So you see how there's already a zip tie here? I'm putting another zip tie right over it, okay? And I'm leaving it open, okay? Just like that. Now, I probably should have done this part first, but let me grab my rotary cutter. You can just use scissors, but I'm going to use my rotary cutter. It makes it go a little faster. I am going to move this out of the way for a second here because I need to see my cutting mat. You're going to cut, so again, you get 5 feet. We're going to cut 4 15-inch pieces of this. Now, again, make the rosette if you want. Go watch the video. If you don't want to do the rosette, you want to do something a little simpler, you can watch this. Okay, so I'm going to cut this at 15 inches. And you can use scissors or your rotary cutter. I need 4 pieces of this. And again, with your 5 feet, you'll have enough. If I've done the math right, which I used to teach math, so hopefully I did. And then now I'm just going off of a roll, so I'm going to have extra here, but you'll have exactly what you need. And you know what? If you decide later on that you don't like this method that we're doing right now, you could go back, take the pieces off, and do the rosette instead. It doesn't matter that we cut these at 15 inches. When I demoed the rosette, I have you cut the cut into two foot pieces. It really doesn't make any difference how long your pieces are. So if you decide if you do this method, you decide you don't like it, you want to go back and do this, you can. You're just going to have to scrunch up some more zip ties because you'll have to obviously cut the zip ties to get the burlap off the wreath. Okay, so we have our 15-inch piece. Here's our zip tie that we already preloaded. Okay, so all I'm going to do, and let me try to make some more room here. Move this off to the side. Okay, all right, so it's kind of curling a little bit. I'm not sure if you're getting a kit from me, how flat it'll be when you get it. But put it curl side down if it's curling at all. And then just find the middle and then just scrunch up the middle. It's very simple process. It's not anything that has to be exact. I'm just trying to gather the same amount of material each time as I walk my fingers up. And then I get this little kind of bow tie looking thing. Okay, so just like this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and place this into the zip tie. I'm going to zip tie it right here in the middle where I'm grabbing. Okay, so we put this in. Okay, and then we're going to lock our zip tie and pull that tight. Okay, and then another thing I kind of like to do, I'm going to actually not use my gun on this just because when the center gets full, it's a little harder to get in there with the gun. I am going to turn this just so the little nub of the zip tie is kind of to the side a bit instead of right on top. You do have to move your burlap around a little bit to make sure that your zip ties are hidden. So I'm kind of going to tuck it back there and then clip this off. Okay. So I know this doesn't look like anything yet, but that's why we need to add the other 3 pieces. So I'm going to go back, grab my next set of zip ties here. Go into my next set of holes. Okay, so I'm going in again another pair of holes right here, going right over where I already have zip ties. Okay. So there's that one. Okay, it's right here. You can see. It's going to be a little hard for you to see as we go along because the center will get full. So again, take your burlap, curl side down, and just scrunch up the middle. Just like this. Okay, so you have it grabbed in the middle there. Okay, and then that is where you're going to put it right into the zip tie here. And lock your zip tie. Oops. And pull that nice and tight. Okay, again, I'm going to kind of turn my zip tie to the side here so the nub is kind of down towards the bottom, and then cut that off. Okay, so as you can see, we're kind of getting there. We're getting like a little ruffly sort of look. Now, there's other ways you can make a burlap ruffle. I think it's way too much work, quite honestly, the way I've seen it done. This works pretty well, and if you have extra burlap, you can make your pieces a little longer if you want your center to be a little fuller. I think that this does a pretty good job. We don't need a giant center on this kind of a wreath because it's already pretty, it's flat, it's not super poofy with the ribbon, so you don't want to have this like gigantic center on there. So this will be just enough. So again, here's my third piece. So curl side down and then just scrunch up the middle, just walking my fingers and grabbing the same amount of material each time, okay, until I have the whole thing pinched right here in the middle. Go into my unlocked zip tie that I just added, and then lock your zip tie and tighten it. Okay, so get that nice and tight, and let's see. Doesn't want to go. That one I'm just going to push this way. Okay. All right. Try to turn this one a little bit. I think it wants to go. It wants to go that way, so we'll just make it go that way. Okay. And we have one last piece, one last zip tie to put in here. So last set of holes. Gets pretty full here in the middle. I know you're not really able to see what I'm doing, but I'm just going through that last set of paired holes that I already have a zip tie in, but it's getting a second zip tie right over the top. Whoops. Did I lose it? Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So there are my two ends. Last piece of burlap. Curl side down and just scrunch. Okay, take my little piece here and put it right into the zip tie, right where I've grabbed it. And I mean, you got a lot of burlap already in here, so it's, you know, not really an exact science here as to where to put it in. It's going to overlap, and you kind of want it to because you want your center to be nice and full. So once that last zip tie is in there, you can start tugging, and you know, you can hide the ends a little bit if you need to, fluff up anything that looks like it's not quite as like curly as the other pieces, but make sure you got all your zip ties hidden. And you can do that just by sort of, all you gotta do is kind of rearrange your burlap and you'll be able to hide those. You could also, of course, use colored zip ties if you really wanted to. And, you know, since you cut this, you might get a couple little strands. Just cut those off and you can kind of hide them underneath again too. Okay, so there is our completed wreath with the ruffled burlap center. So again, that's an option. This is a little bit more advanced. As you can see, the size difference, this makes a little bit bigger center. This is a little bit of a smaller center, but either one will cover all of the work in the middle, which is what you want. Make sure your ribbons are all nice and flared out so you don't see the board at all. And that is the end of the project. So once again, thank you for watching me today. This exact kit is sold out. However, in the future, I might have more kits. They might include a different combination of ribbons. You might actually get, you know, more of the 2.5 and less of the 1.5. It just depends on the ribbon I have and the style that we're going for, and, you know, possibly different options for the center as well. Sometimes it might be burlap, sometimes it'll be ribbon. I've done centers with felt. So there's lots of options there as well. So if you are interested in watching more live videos from me, you can always join me on Facebook, where I go live usually about once a week or once every 2 weeks. And I also do post everything here on YouTube. Please check the description box below for all of my social media links, as well as a link to my Etsy shop. Thank you again for watching me, and have a great day, everyone. Bye.